Hey, it's your guy Tyrrell back with the interviews. Colombia, Poland, Colombia and Poland's World Cup hopes. How did they do it? Why didn't Poland change what they did wrong in the first game? And what's next for Robert Lewandowski? Don't worry, here at the interviews, we've got you covered. So on this edition of the interviews, we're going to break down how Colombia beat Poland. Colombia, Poland, both sides losing their first game at the World Cup and now needing a win to ensure that they would play their final game with hopes of getting into the round of 16. However, Poland's dreams were crushed on the day. Colombia swept them aside. But why did that happen? How did Poland not fix their issues from the first game? Here are the interviews. We're going to help you break that down. When we look at it as a whole, we got Colombia in a 4-2-3-1. Falcao ahead of Cuadrado, Quintero, and James Rodriguez, Aguilar and Barrios in midfield. You look at Poland, 3-4-3, Robert Lewandowski up front, Kaunowski and Zielinski in midfield, Berezinski and Rybus on as wingbacks, and they had Krykowiak and Golowski in midfield. When we really look at it, what was wrong with Poland? Well, what did Colombia do right? When we look at it as a whole, Falcao dropping off deeper, still showing that he's a top number 9 with his back to goal, linking play with the midfield, holding off challenges. Yes, he's lost a bit of pace, but this was still an all-round Falcao performance. But the big thing here was James Rodriguez started, Quintero started, Cuadrado didn't have to get pulled off due to a red card, and they all operated in different zones, and Poland didn't have any answers for them. One of the issues that Poland had was obviously they dropped into more of a 4-5-1, and the reason behind that was they were steamrolled on the counterattack in their opening game against Senegal. They knew the pace that Colombia possessed, specifically through Cuadrado. They didn't want to have that happen here. They dropped off into more of a 4-5-1, and as Colombia mounted the pressure, it was only Lewandowski up front, on an island, isolated, and when they were able to win the ball and they punted balls into him, the problem with Lewandowski was that there was never any support. Players were too deep to get around him, and he struggled as a whole because he wasn't able to really link off anyone, play with his teammates, or build any sustained pressure or possession, and that was a big problem for Colombia. What happened and what benefited them was the fact that they had James Rodriguez, a top-class player. They missed him in the first game, fully fit here. What happened now was that we saw Quintero drop deep a lot, picking up the ball, ensuring that they had a 3v2 in midfield. James Rodriguez hardly played on the left. You saw him drifting, floating into central positions, but for the first half, predominantly playing in this right channel here. You have Arias pushing forward, and then you have Cuadrado holding on the right. And that's a big problem it was a big problem for Poland, because what Colombia wanted to do was get Cuadrado to be 1v1 with Rybus, and they did on several occasions. And then this allowed Moika to push forward and maintain the width. And when you really look at it, the first possibly 20-25 minutes was very scrappy, but the pattern of the game really went down like this. James trying to combine with Cuadrado trying to break in behind Rybus, and we saw as Poland actually was able to push a bit forward, now Colombia were able to exploit them. You saw when they did push forward, Colombia were very organized, dropping off deeper, and when they did press Colombia, they would push James forward, they would push Quintero from midfield to press the back three to ensure that they were able to punt the ball over. Krykowiak and Goralski were unable to really get on the ball and dictate the tempo of the game, and as they pushed forward and Colombia dropped into more of their two banks of 4, what happened was that it encouraged Poland to push forward as they did, and then there was a problem because when we look at some of the attacks that Colombia created, it was down the right flank. What we saw, Aguilar and James combining in central positions, bypassing the midfield, ball clipped out to Falcao, and Cuadrado drifting into that space. Obviously, Falcao takes it. It probably should have went to Cuadrado. However, that was a warning sign. We saw Krykowiak kind of come over to the flank to help him out there. James drifts over, slides the ball into Cuadrado. He's able to beat both Rybis and Krykowiak to the byline, delivers cross into the box that doesn't meet his marker. On several occasions, we saw just simple punts into that channel, and Rybis couldn't keep up with Cuadrado. Cuadrado would break free, but the problem here with Colombia that they were worried about was that, like the first game, his decision-making was poor throughout in terms of delivering that final ball, when to play that final ball. You can even look to the second half where it's Quintero in a deeper position, dropping off in the left, in midfield, playing a ball out into the channel. Cuadrado's able to break free. He should play a pass into James breaking in. He hesitates and pulls it back for Falcao. These were golden chances that Cuadrado had that he was unable to finish off. And when you look at it as a whole, he eventually scored the final goal, and it was a great James ball again from the left channel behind the high line that eventually got exposed, that played it around and set him free. But this was a big issue for them. But however, Cuadrado stretched the play. He was able to use his pace to get behind Rybis, and it allowed Colombia to break in on several occasions. When you look at Quintero, he was often dropping deeper into midfield to get on the ball, picking it up, looking to play that reverse pass into the half spaces. On several occasions, he was trying to get that going for him. He finally got it for the second goal. What happened there was that Falcao was able to drag Krykowiak with him, and that was key. And then Quintero was able to play that pass into him behind the defense, and he was able to set free. He was also involved in the first goal, a short corner kick. What happens there? It's a short corner. Cuadrado plays it to Quintero. Obviously, what happens is that after that, he's able to play the reverse pass into half space again for James Rodriguez, who clips the ball into Mina, who nods it in, and that was the winner, and that's what really set them going. But when you look at it as a whole, from a Colombia standpoint, they were able to exploit space behind Rybis down the right channel. James Rodriguez was drifting from the left, more so in the first half, picking up balls and pockets of spaces down the right, combining with Cuadrado, trying to set him free in the half spaces. Falcao was great with his back to goal. Quintero was dropping deep in midfield to ensure that they had control of the center of the pitch, retaining possession well, often looking to play that final reverse pass. He finally got it for the second goal. And then when you look at Poland, it's the total opposite. And this has been the problem of the tournament. Lewandowski high, Konaki and Zielinski were up front with him, but what were their roles? It's very difficult to break down what they were supposed to do, what they were expected to do. The wingbacks obviously trying to push forward, but Colombia were very organized and the wide players coped that out. You got Quintero dropping deeper, so then at times it looked more like a 4-5-1, because when you break it down, Quintero was dropping into midfield, James was kind of shifting out to the left, Cuadrado to the right, and when you really look at it, they didn't really have anything going for them. They tried to play balls into Lewandowski. Their first shot took place in the 58th minute. How did it stem? A hopeful long ball from Krykowiak, plays it over the defense. Lewandowski breaks free, should score. Ospina comes out and makes a big save. But that's what it took to get Lewandowski free. He spent lots of moments in this game dropping deeper behind half to get on the ball, because that was the only way he was getting supplied, trying to link play with his teammates, but they were unable to retain possession. And this was just a Poland side that was just too disjointed, no real game plan, and heavily reliant on Robert Lewandowski without providing him service. And this is why they struggled in the first game. They were very high, and then they were exposed on the counterattack. And here, eventually, as they pushed forward when they needed to, Cuadrado's pace down the right proved too much, and they were unable to cope with the creativity and guile of Quintero and James Rodriguez. Poland's World Cup's over. This could be the last time we see Robert Lewandowski at the World Cup. Perhaps he would have wanted to go another way, but he didn't have the help around him to help Poland make a deep run, whereas Colombia now look like they're in full float. Falcao looks like he's playing very well. He's had two great games. Quintero and James Rodriguez provide the guile and creativity, and if Cuadrado can improve his decision-making in the final third, they look like a team that you won't want to play in the knockout rounds. But let me know what you guys think. Meet me in the comments below. Don't forget I upload videos every day, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And that was your daily dose of the interviews.